we go. Oh, no one's on here yet, but they soon shall be. Welcome, everyone. Okay, someone is there. All right. I'm just going to get to it. Yeah, so I'm going to finish up wiring the wires. Time for the part that always hurts me, clipping a wire that's been already constructed. Yep, this is live. Absolutely, Matt. Okay, so Matt, yesterday I ran this vertically, it ran perfectly fine. But I had the controller and the computer all on top of the desk because the wires are short. And now I'm putting it from over here and I'm just lengthening the wires. As soon as I lengthen the wires, I'm going to try to operate it in the vertical position. Blue? That always hurts. Cutting a perfectly good wire. I gotta lengthen. What's an every? Oh, did I type? Did I mistype it? Yes, I did. Welcome, everyobe. I guess I'll retype that eventually. Oh, the joys of stripping cables and okay. 4 wires. Oh joy. Talk amongst yourselves. I'm just splicing wires. What I'll do is I'll splice 2 of the motors, leave the X and the Z unhooked, and I'm just going to work on the 2 side motors just to see how it would run. It'll definitely go down. Will it go up? It remains to be seen. Let's see. Is it me or does the vertical CNC feel wrong? Well, that depends on whether you're standing under it. But don't think of it as a vertical CNC. Think of it as an angled CNC, because if it works in the vertical position, I could actually angle it, and then we'll know that it'll work in all the other positions. But we're assuming. Yeah, that's what happens. Everybody's watching me with wires. Ba-da-da-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-bum. Look at that. A beautiful soldering job, as always. One down. 31 to go. Yep. CNC. CNC is not woodworking. Building a CNC, however, is. That's beautiful. I love it when the solder just flows into the copper with the heat source on one end. But that's just me. What are you up to, Dave, in the background there? Oh, by the way, let me set on present. So, yes, in case you haven't seen, folks, Dave is actually with me in the panel. Muted and doing his own thing. One X, 2Y, and 1Z, correct. Correct. The X is the across the left to right, as Dave said. It's the two Y's are the two on the side. I have multiple soldering devices. For those of you, let's see. Oh yeah, in case somebody's listening live, I mean in the future, let me read the questions. I keep forgetting to do that. Do you have a Radioshack soldering pen? How about a soldering demo? Oh, okay. Well, let's give you all a little soldering demo. First thing we do, strip the wire clean. Make sure the copper is clean. When working with copper, it's a simple solder. Heat the copper, not the solder. The solder will flow. You heat the copper with the soldering iron. I don't know if you guys can hang on a second. For those of you who have never soldered before, you heat the wire itself, and let the solder flow right onto the wire. Once it gets hot enough, it'll just, this will suck it up. You may want to use this to control the flow, but there you go. That's a nice, if you can see it there, focused. It's out of focus, but that, yeah, whatever. It's a nice clean solder. When I splice two wires together, I like to solder them because I'm just anal about that, I guess. Oh, Okay. And of course, I forgot my electrical tape, so I'll go back for it in a little while. But I've got plenty to solder before I start taping. And do I have this is a Radioshack soldering station. Back in the day, I don't know how long I've had that. Probably since my teens, so 30 years, whatever. I've had, I have Wellers, I have micro soldering guns, I have, you name it. It's all part of the pack rat, all part of the hoarding. Sad part is, I make sure that, well, it's not that sad. I make sure that this one's available because the others are just lost. And yeah, I normally would be using heat shrink tubing on this, but like everything else, when you have a pile of stuff, I don't know where it is. So temporarily, I'll do electrical tape. Later, I'll redo it with heat shrink the right way. And to tell you the truth, I'm going to have to do this all over again in the future because I don't have at the moment what I would deem the proper cable. Right now, I'm using Cat 5. I'm doubling up. So the 22 gauge Cat 5, 24 gauge Cat 5 cable, two of them become a 22 gauge. I'd rather have a nice 20 or 18 gauge cable for the motors. So there's that. All right. Now we shall grab our tape here. Looks like I'm moving my soldering station. Or move my box. Any questions there, Dave?
I don't see any, Javi.
All right. Yeah, I'm going to have to redo this once I get the right cable, but I just want to see this thing running. I know it's only been 3 days work and a couple hours a day or 1 or 2 hours a day, but it's been, I don't know, I guess almost a year saving up, buying the parts piece by piece and with the little desire of building it in the back of my head. So
Jeff Robinson says, should you be using shielded cable?
Yes, I should be using not only shielded cable, but I should be using 18 gauge cable like this one. The cable that I'm using is definitely not meant for this, which is why I'll be redoing it. But it's what I have right now. This Cat 5 cable, I have miles of it, so it's what I'm using.
You got microchips are in the house, and Corey Orel.
Hey, Mike and Corey are there. So like I said, for those of you unfamiliar with soldering, heat the wire, not the solder. And the solder will flow right into the wire. Nice and neatly.
Tim Gooba in the house.
Hey, Tim. And like with woodwork, you measure twice and cut once. Do the same with the cables. Make sure when you're... I've got orange to red, green to green, brown to black, and blue to white. So I got to make sure I keep that color scheme. Or, well, let's just say if you put 10 volt or 40 volts into the data side of the motors, it's not going to be pretty. For those of you who are uncomfortable with electronics, then and you've bought a Xylotech, I would highly recommend you just buy the extra cable in the kit if you know you're going to need longer cables. Personally, I didn't want to spend that much money when I could buy a whole roll of cable for half that. But I'm doing the work myself, and that's where the savings is. Nothing like the smell of flux in the morning. So I'm going to take this show up until about 8 o'clock. Then I'm going to go and watch Eloy's show. And then I'll be back live here because I'll probably be finishing up, and most likely, I don't know, this is taking a while. I think probably by 8 I might be able to have the vertical running, because I'm going to just do the 2 wires and test it. But after 9 o'clock is when I'll have the all 4 wires connected. And
Corey is asking a question for me or you, either one. Javi says, what's the recommended length of 18 gauge shielded wire to have on hand ahead of time? That really depends on how big you're going to make your table.
Yeah.
And you will need a lot more than you think if you're going to put it in the drag chain.
Yeah, in my case, I have something like, it gets a little complicated, but from that motor, I have, overestimating, conservatively, I have 8 feet, then another 8 feet down, and then another 5 feet up. And when I say 8 feet down, I'm talking 8 feet, and then from here it'll go to the midpoint, to the fulcrum point, and then down that leg. Now that leg just happens to be here. It just happens to be straight. So you're looking at from the top of the board all the way down to the floor, and it'll bend in here. So you'll have 8 feet, 8 feet. That's 16, and another 4 or 5 feet up. So I cut an extra 18 or 20 feet to add to the original 6 foot for that one, for the long one. Same thing I did with these two, because these two, when they're stretched all the way to the left and to the back, you're looking at approximately the same distance. I have a couple, 2 or 3 extra feet just in case for play. And they're going to go in drag chains, which I will be creating the drag chains on Thursday's show, on Thursday's Twitch show. I'll be showing you how to make wood drag chains, if anybody's interested. And then the last one's a simple one. The last one just goes down and up, so it's about 12 foot. That's the smaller of the 4 cables. So I did one of the 2. Let me do the other one now, which is the yellow. The yellow and the blue are the 2 Ys. And if I do it correctly, I too am wise. Did I say morning? Thursday evening at 8 p.m. I will probably be running. I'm hoping to. I don't know what I'll do Thursday, because if I can get the Twitch and the OBS is a little more complicated, and the computer that I use for that is in the house, so it's not out here. So I have to see if this works with OBS. So no promises on that, but you'll probably see it at least running down tonight. I can't promise up. That's good. Get rid of that little hairy thing. All right, 4 cables and 4 cables. Okay, how much for a 48 by 48? That's a good question. Dave could probably answer that. You know roughly how much cable you have for your 48 by 48, Dave?
Well, again, part of it will depend on where you're putting your box.
True.
I like to run mine towards the back of the machine, underneath the machine towards the back. On my big green one, it's to the back, underneath, and on the right-hand corner. And my drag chain runs for the Y-axis, runs on that side. And the cable for my Z and for my X-axis all run through both drag chains. So yeah, there's probably a good 20-25 feet or so there. And then just for the I'm sorry, it should be for the Z-axis I'm talking about, not the X, because the X you only have to run up through the drag chain on the side.
Yeah.
So I probably got about 15-20 feet there, and probably 20 to 25 feet in the other one.
Yeah. So it all depends on how you wire it. I would say 100 feet is probably a good length to have. In addition to the Xylotex comes with 6 feet. Now, if you have your own box, well, then you're looking at probably about 150 feet of cable you should have on hand. But the Xylotex comes with 6 foot on 4 axes, so I'm just extending them.
Yeah, the Xylotex is a great little plug-and-play kit, but it was never intended for the type size machines that
right.
So you always have to add more cable. And just so you know, I bought a roll of 18.4 shielded wire. I got like 500 feet of it for, I forget what it was, $40 or something like that off of Amazon.
Yeah.
So it's pretty cheap.
Yeah.
You know, so don't try to cut yourself short. Go ahead and buy plenty extra.
Yeah. Yeah. Don't do as I say, not as I do. Don't. I just happen to have 10 rolls of 1,000 feet of Cat 5 cable, so I'm using it. But just because I enjoy soldering something twice doesn't mean you should. And I do enjoy this.
Corey wants to know if you're color coordinating them.
If I what? Oh yeah, yep. I am brown to black. I mean well, for those of you who've wired Cat 5, as I have for many years, there's green, blue, orange, and black. The particular cables here are green, white, red, and black. So the red goes to the orange, green to green. The black is the darkest, so I put it to the brown, and the blue to the white, because that's the one that remains. So that's my little color scheme. But like I said,
we got somebody on here called Works with Wood, and they're asking about it says any advantage to using dual shaft steppers. Not really.
As opposed to a single axis down the middle?
No, he's saying dual shaft, so I guess
Gotcha.
Shaft come out the top.
Yeah, no.
It's not really a big deal to me, anyway.
It just so happens it came with these, and when it's off, you can always mount a little knob up here and go up and down. But as Dave said quite a number of times, he's got a knob on his, and he never uses it. So
yeah, now that I use a pin to jog stuff around, I never touch that knob anymore.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know how often my other machine that I've ever moved it manually. I really haven't. You turn it on and well, for that one I have a joystick, but it's all the same. Keyboard, joystick, pendant.
John, I think the Cat 5 that Hobby's using is stranded.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm using
was talking about a single core, and the core will break if moved constantly, but you're using this.
This is only going to be for about a couple weeks. I'm replacing this cable with the right cable with the heat shrink and everything. I got nothing to do today. I got the extra cable, and I like soldering, so I'm putting it together. If it wasn't for that, I'd wait a couple days for it to come in from Amazon. But you know what? I'm here now. Yeah, luckily, I will have multi-mode cable for the final assembly. This is just.
He's winging it, folks.
I'm winging it. This is the fun part of. For me, this is the fun part of. There's some people that plan and plan and plan. I've been up against, in my professional life, I've been up against many people who plan meticulously every step of their business plan or every step of their particular task that they have to do. And my style has always been plan to a certain degree, but leave a lot. Like, for instance, I planned the whole entire build, and from the original plan, it has changed considerably. The actual table. And since the table changed, I had to add this box here because the lead screw only goes this far. It goes right up to this edge here. Which the advantage is I have the full length of the lead screw, which is nice. But you know, I'm going to paint this, by the way. But it's like with anything else. I've learned in my life that don't plan everything because nothing goes to plan. Plan as much as you can, and wing part of it. Right now, I'm not going to go all out and spend a bunch of money on a bunch of cables until I test it and make sure it all works. I mean, that's not the real reason. The real reason is, frankly, like I said, I got this cable. Similarly, I had, if anybody buys these, if you ever buy these helical adapters, this is, as I drop it, this is 1/2 inch to 1/4 inch. I mean, sorry, to 1/4 inch to 1/2 inch. If you ever buy these helical adapters, throw them in the garbage. They're worthless, particularly for vertical stresses of a CNC, but you crash one of those once and you'll stretch the heck out of them. So it's really not worth having. I ended up going with I bought some rigid adapters online and replaced them, and it's perfect. Really, the motor is going to be your weak point for this thing. And then I know Dave has been asked on occasion, well, or people have said on occasion, well, I'm going to build Dave's machine, but I'm going to beef up the motors. I'm going to put NEMA 34s or 45s, and I'm thinking to myself, why do you want to break your machine? Because this is more than strong enough to pretty much carve anything. Heck, half this, the 269s are more than strong enough. This is overkill with the 425s. But it's weak enough that it will stall on the end of the end of the mounts, which is what you want. You use one of those. You use a NEMA 34 on this thing, you'll rip the edge right off it. You'll pop it right off the lead screw. That's not nice. Hey, Andrew, how's it going? Just extending the cables. I'm just about finished. I'm gonna go grab some electrical tape from inside the house and come back, tape these up, and let's see. Did I get both sides? Yes, I did.
Yeah, you got 16 folks watching, Javi, and they came to see you around. So,
well, let's see. 47. Yep, I got just enough time before Eloy's show to. I'm gonna take these up. I'm gonna hook it up, and I'm gonna. At least you'll see the thing go down. Whether it goes up or whether it jams, we'll find out. One of the things that I did find out, guys, is I got a locking pair of vice grips here because when the motor's on, they're locked. But when the Xylotech is on, the motors are locked. But when it's off, at least one side, they're smooth enough. They're straight enough and they're smooth enough that, and it's just heavy enough that it will actually start turning the motors with the gear gravity alone. When there's no power to the motors, this thing will just go, and you don't want that, especially if the whole purpose of having this thing up in the air is to have it up in the air. So most likely what I'm going to do is I'm going to put in the near future a couple eyelets, one on each side with a simple pulley. And since this weighs about 70 pounds, I'm going to put 35 pounds on each side, weighing it, counterbalancing it. With removable hooks, because when it's down, I don't need those counterbalance. Dave, if you mind entertaining them for a little bit, I'm going to here, let me take myself off screen sharing. I'll be back in a shake. I'm getting the electrical tape. Hey, that rhymes.
Okay.
Ish.
Let's see a poll over there in the chat since Javi's gone. How many think it's going to work up and down completely vertical without any issues? Put a comment in the chat. Say it'll work or it won't work. We'll take a poll. Hey, Eric. How long did it take me to produce the parts for this machine? Same time it takes me to produce for any machine, because it's all the same parts. Okay, I told them we're taking a poll to say whether it will work, whether they think it'll work or won't work. So far, everybody's pretty positive.
Everybody's what? Everybody's positive?
I think so, yeah.
Nice. Let's see here.
Nice amp. Oh, you can see my little line 6 amp in the background there.
Yep. All right, here goes, well, here goes something as soon as I finish. Like I said, any second now.
Yeah, Corey, he's going to do the counterbalance. First, he's going to have to see how much he needs, if any.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with you, Andrew. I think the motors have got enough torque to raise it up and down, but if you try to do it fast, it could become an issue.
Yeah, it might bind. Oh, by the way, for those of you watching, I did run these things in a horizontal test at 600, yes, 600 inches per minute. And yes, they did bind. It was like wee! It was good. It was fast. And then it went wee, you know, so yeah, that's the sound, complete with sound effects, guys.
Well, Corey, in answer to your comment there, I don't know how much that would help the longevity of the steppers. The steppers are pretty much indestructible. You know, they'll either work or they'll stall. So
yeah, as far as longevity.
Javi, did you mute yourself?
What's that?
I'm not hearing you. I don't know if everybody else is or not.
Oh. Okay, can you hear me at all? Hello? That's weird.
Jim Dockrell says he hears you, so maybe it's just me.
Okay, how about now? Do you hear me any better now? Realtek USB. Yeah, okay, everybody hears me. Good. I was saying, as far as the longevities of the longevity of the motors, there's two concerns. Number one is the weight. So the longevity of the bearings of the motors. That's a concern. But at $22 a motor, who cares? As long as it doesn't last, a one weekend, then that's it. Then there's the longevity of the motor itself, the power. That's not going to be an issue. I've in the past, when I was first learning with the Cam Master, and it's a much weaker motor, it would I'd crash it so many times it's not even funny. Yeah, any CNC guy knows that sound very well.
Yeah. Eric Gussie Banjo says, Dave, will cup things hold, may turn out and drop, please tell him. I'm not sure what he means by cup things.
Well, Dave,
unless you're talking about the couplers, and he's put new couplers, solid couplers on the 2Y motors.
Dave, will the cup thing hold? May turn and drop. Ah, okay. Yeah, the couplers, I just put new couplers on, and they'll hold. They've been holding now for a couple days. They'll hold real well. But here's one other addition to that I'm doing with this is I'm putting on thrust bearings and collets. Let me explain. At the bottom here, I'm going to put a thrust bearing, it's very much like a regular bearing, except it's like a lazy Susan. You have a hole in the middle, but the pressure, you put the pressure on that way. And of course, a collet, a locking collet, half-inch collet, and that will be what applies the pressure to the thrust bearing. So in this position, any extra weight taken off the motors will be applied to the two supports, which, yes, I will be beefing up the supports just in case. But they're, like I said, this machine is very well designed. Even those will hold. I just like to over-engineer everything. Well, not everything. By the way, anybody who's ever built one of these machines and put extra supports inside here, I kind of don't want to say, I don't want to be mean and say you wasted your time, but you wasted your time. If you guys saw me surfing on this thing the other day, I'm not a thin guy. 260 pounds, dead center. That thing didn't bow, didn't flex, nothing. That thing is so solid and so rigid. It surprised me. And I did that so I could unscrew it just in case I needed to, and make it a true torsion box and stick things in there. I mean, like Dave says, it doesn't hurt to over-engineer, but there's no need.
Yeah, I like I told you, Javi, I'm often asked if, when people say, well, I'm building mine a little wider, do I need to put them in there? And I just say, it'll make you sleep better at night, put them in there. But you don't really need it. When you're building a solid box like that out of 3/4 plywood, it's pretty stout.
Yeah. Well, for those of you that are going to tune into Eloy's show, I'm going to stick around for another 5 or 10 minutes. But it's around 8 o'clock, so feel free to go over there for whatever. I forget who he's interviewing today.
Patrick's workshop is in the house. I don't know if I mentioned that.
Yep. I saw Patrick. It's funny because I saw Patrick in the hangout as I walked into my other room to pick up the tape, and I go, "Hey, wait! I'm in the middle of a live." Guys go, "Oh, I didn't know it didn't come up." Yeah, this was an impromptu one. They're all impromptu. Yeah, 4 more taped up pieces, and I'll be running this. And you're gonna see either a face of mine that's I figured that would happen if it locks in the up position, or an extremely happy face, like hoo-hoo, like a little kid in a candy shop because it rolls up flawlessly. Nothing in between, one or the other.
Patrick wants to know, he says, Javi, where did you get that awesome idea for the thrust bearing? I'm going to go out on a limb and say,
I got to tell you, it came to me in a vision. There's this ginger-haired and ginger-bearded individual that came to me in a dream. He said, "My name is Patrick from Patrick's workshop. You should add thrust bearings to that." Lo and behold, that's what I'll be adding. And I got to say one thing about Hangouts, about this community. Coming up with ideas on your own is one thing. And then, and we all applaud each other for, "Oh man, what a great idea." And 9 times out of 10, it's not the idea that was great. It's just the fact that somebody actually followed through in making the idea, because we've all had the same ideas. But the beautiful thing about this community is the tweaks. I can come up with an idea, and you tell somebody your idea, you're going to get a million opinions. Opinions are like what's. Everybody's got one. But every so often, more often than not, a good idea comes along, a good suggestion. If anybody has any opinions, I always welcome them. So do this, do that. I'll listen. And the last of the wires. Great. One of the wires broke. Easy fix. So pretty soon I'll be taking bets. So what did you say, Dave? Most everybody said.
Yeah, I think pretty much everybody said
everybody thinks it's going to run.
Well, except at really high speed, maybe.
Well, yeah.
But you don't know until you try it. Like I said, the machine was designed to run on a flat table, run it the other way, but
yeah,
you won't know until you try it. And it would definitely work. Worst case, you add some counterweights and things. Anything's possible.
Yeah, absolutely. And let me tell you, I really enjoyed running that machine at 600 inches per minute, because my machine is my other machine is it's rack and pinion, and it'll run that fast, but it's designed to run that fast. This one is designed to be a hobbyist machine, and it's running at 200. And honestly, really, I've never run my other machine at more than 200 while carving. There's no reason. If you do, you strip the wood. I mean, you know. So what's the point? The only point I see is if you need a rapid jog from one end of the machine to the other, and you can't wait those extra 3 or 4 seconds. Here we go, guys. All right. Let's make sure to turn this one on. Okay. We have 2. Where's my keyboard? Here it is. Come on, start up already.
Eric over there at Gussie Banjo says, Dave, what do you think of seeing your machine like that? Yeah, let's see. I don't know. I personally would never run one that way, but that's why. Don't
let him fool you guys. He's been giddy as a school kid just watching to see if this will run.
Well, I have plans to maybe take. Took an X carve. Everybody knows how light an X carve is. I have plans to use an X carve that I took in trade as a laser engraver, putting my laser on that and putting it in my shop. And I was thinking, well, that'd be a good space saving idea, but I still wouldn't run it vertically. I would drop it down.
Yeah, well, likewise. This is the main reason I'm doing this is not so much to run it vertically, but to for those of you who have seen my videos, the table will come out to an angle, to a very comfortable angle. I could install the wood comfortably and reach the entire table, and it's a space saver at an angle, and all the sawdust falls, which is convenient. Running it vertically, I would not choose to do that. I would at an angle though, and if I'm not really using the space, then yeah, absolutely, I'll put it horizontal because that's the most stable position.
Yeah, and when I say this, don't anybody think I'm knocking Javi, because I really admire what he's doing here, trying to make it vertical and with the different angles and stuff like that. And I love his lift mechanism that he's made. That's really cool, and I could see many uses for that with a lot of other tools. But having said all that, I kind of look at it like this: if it was really a great way to run CNC machines, there would be a lot of CNC machines that were built like that. And the only time you ever see one built like that, I only know of one other one, a guy on Facebook but his is a big steel frame and all that, rack and pinion and all that stuff. You just don't see them designed that way. And I think there's a pretty good reason for that. So, but I'm anxious to see what happens here. I want to see this thing go.
Are we ready, guys? Let's see if this thing doesn't fall on me. Ah, stupid reset button. There we go. And there we go. What didn't I connect? Aha. Always something. I forgot one cable. You know, it's nice if you actually connect the Xylotech, right? Turn it off.
Eric is yelling at me here in the chat. He says, Dave, do not let him be under it.
He's doing what?
Well, he says in all caps, he says, Dave, do not let him be under it. He's in Miami. I'm in Georgia. I can't.
I'm not under it. Just so you guys know, I'm not under it. Well, yeah, one side seems to be slipping more than the other. Yeah, hang on. Man, that is a strong motor. Hang on a second. Let me realign them. All right, let's see what happens. It's going down fine. With a little assist, it's fine. What do you think, guys? If I let go of it, yeah, if I let go of it, it really struggles. So a slight, I mean, all I got to do is probably put 30 pounds on each side, and that thing will be so well balanced. This motor binds. That one doesn't. That's the strangest thing. Oh, I know why. This side's a little heavier. So what do you guys think?
Are you going to jog the X so we can see if that moves well across in that crazy position.
Yep. What's that? What'd you say, Dave?
I said, are you going to jog the X so we can see it move? See if it moves properly in that crazy position?
Oh, that'll definitely move. Hang on, let me connect the X. Red or green? I forgot.
Red.
Red is X.
Green is Y, or I mean Z.
Green is Z. Gotcha. Yeah, it's long enough to jog for a little bit, so.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you already had all 4 cables hooked up.
No.
Yeah, Andrew says to try moving the Y again when you have the X in the center.
I'm sorry?
Andrew says try when you get the X in the center, try moving the Y again.
Same thing. And again, this is at 200. You put yeah, a little bit of lube helps everybody. That one bounded on this one. There we go. That straightened it out. This side is binding a bit. I may actually need to adjust slightly the thing. Oh yeah, Patrick said pull the table out a little and try. Let me try that. Okay. Yeah, until I put all the wires in place, I got to do this extremely carefully. Okay, this is the angled position. Let me see, is it? Let me just adjust it a little because it's not perfectly straight.
Eric says, Dave, have him touch the motors for heat. I'm not even sure you can reach those back motors, can you?
What's that?
He said to touch the motors to check the heat, but I'm not even sure you can reach them.
Yeah.
Can you reach it?
Yeah, no problem. Ow. Yeah. Whoa.
Yeah, you were cocked a little ways anyway.
No, I have a feeling. I don't know what's wrong with that one. It went by itself. It didn't stop.
Well, now it looks like it's back closer to being straight.
Uh-huh.
It was cocked coming down before.
Yeah, it's coming down on the right here, and whoa. Oh, I see what happened. Yep. Hang on a second. Give me a sec. As expected, or as somebody expected there, the coupling popped off the left side, the right side. I'm wondering, wait a second, one side's spinning, one side's not. I gotta put it back on there and tighten it. Now I'll let you guys in on a little secret. Well, it's not a secret. These collets that I was showing you did a horrible job. You know, at this, they would have completely stretched vertical. So instead of the helical collet, I bought a straight collet. Unfortunately, a straight collet that's 1/4 inch on one side and 1/2 inch on the other. By the way, if you guys can find one for under 20 bucks, I'd appreciate it. The only place I found one is Build Your Own CNC, and they'll take a little while to get to me. They're $21 each. So I did the next best thing is I bought a couple of 1/2 inch to 1/2 inch couplings on Amazon, and I stuck, if you can believe this, a router reducing router adapter, you know, from 1/2 inch to 1/4 inch. That's what's on there now, and that's probably why that one slipped, and this one's about to. So I'll raise that a little bit so they're even. Don't like to have it twisted. But anyway, that is what's going on with this. When it's weighted down, when I put the thrust bearings on and when I put the true locking couplers on that thing, it's not going to pop off like this. But as you saw, it's a somewhat successful test. I have to check the alignment of that screw a little bit because it's binding a bit. Most likely lube it up a little bit and definitely put the counterweights because I don't. Well, that's the other issue. When it's turned off and up on top, it will roll down by itself because the motors are not locked. So regardless, I'm going to need a counterbalance. So for any of you thinking of doing a vertical CNC, definitely put a simple counterbalance on it. And that will be one of my next episodes. So, well, I'm glad you guys liked it. I'm having a blast. As soon as the couplings come in and the counterbalance, and I wire those things up, I'll probably run a piece. Give me a week or two. I'll probably run an actual solid piece on there. I'll engrave something, carve something, and then you'll see it in action. But that'll be a while. The build is done. Now come the little tweaks. Thank you all for watching, and head on over to Eloy Escajedo's woodworking show if you haven't already, which obviously they haven't. Good night, guys.